Chairman, extrapolating from a PQ reply, the government's total spending on advertising in 2022 may well have been over $100 million. I will make 2 points. Firstly, there has been concern expressed about an SGAG Instagram post that was only labeled #SP. The Instagram function to show that an IG post is sponsored was not used in that particular instance. For transparency, would the government agree to have clear labels on all advertisements indicating the responsible agency? After all, political ads are required to have labels issued by the POFMA office. Secondly, I agree that there is a legitimate public interest served in government advertising that serves to nudge citizens to do beneficial things, like take up healthy habits or apply for a useful scheme, for example. But some advertising seems to not embody a nudging intent. Some ads seem to be aimed more at fostering feel-good vibes towards an agency, and some even seem to aim at persuading the public to see the government in a good light, with no clear public interest served in terms of ultimately nudging positive behaviours. I only have time for one example. This ad on the housing program, sorry, it's upside down. This was referred to by the honourable members, Mr. Leong Man Wai and Ms. Hazel Pua earlier in this House, is aimed at persuading the public that, quote, we are committed to keeping HDB flats affordable and accessible for Singaporeans, unquote, and presents various factoids about BTO launches and prices. But what is the public interest served here? To raise awareness so people apply for BTOs? But is this necessary? The application rates for BTOs are already very high and rising. Is there a need to raise awareness? So what behaviour exactly are we nudging with this ad? Moreover, the ad seems more aimed at persuading people that the government is doing a good job keeping housing affordable and accessible, which is an opinion, but public policy and one might say politics. If the reply is that such advertising raises public confidence and trust in the agency or government and hence conduces more public participation in schemes, surely the best way to establish trust is good service delivery, and surely that trust cannot be bought with advertising. So as to free up more revenue for the budget, I would suggest that ads be run only when there is a measurable behavioural trade-off. A return on investment test should be applied. Revenue should not be spent on ads that generate feel-good vibes or which aim to persuade people that the government is doing a good job. The latter is more akin to political advertising and should not be funded with public money.
Mr. Perera referred to SGAG. SGAG ads show paid partnership. This is already being done. MCI introduced a whole-of-government demand aggregation contract for media buying for advertisement. This enhances value for money for the government as a whole. At the end of the day, government's advertising spend is to ensure that all Singaporeans can make full use of the government's many schemes and programs. Mr. Perera referred to MND's print advertisement on accessible and affordable BTOs. First, let me say that we appreciate that during this period, coming out of COVID-19, that Singaporeans are feeling anxious about the availability and affordability of BTOs. And I fully empathize with these Singaporeans. And that is the reason why MND proactively puts out facts and figures, including BTO launches, the median prices of BTO flats, so that all Singaporeans, especially young Singaporeans, know about the pipeline of BTO flats coming up and make the best decision that they can based on available information. These ads show factually, for example, the median price of a 4-room BTO flat in a non-mature estate is about $347,000 before grants. This information helps our Singaporeans make the best decision that they can and to reassure them that public housing is available and affordable. This is in the public interest. There is no point made in the MND infographic to get Singaporeans to feel good about the government. But it's the first time that I'm being told that Singaporeans, that you feel good after looking at our MND infographic. And I thank Mr. Perera for feeling that way. I'm sure my MND colleagues and HDB colleagues are working very hard to make sure that they build BTO flags, clear the backlog. I think they appreciate it. So thank you very much for feeling good about it.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to clarify that the ad didn't necessarily make me feel good. In fact, I felt a little bit concerned for the reasons I shared in my speech. But my clarification is really going back to advertising that is driving behaviors among citizens versus advertising that is driving a belief or a conviction. So if you look at the ad that I showed earlier, the main aim seems to be to convince people that the government is making housing affordable and accessible. So my question is, what is the problem statement that the ad is responding to? Is it that not enough people are applying for BTOs? That cannot be, right? The BTO application multiple has been rising and is very, very high. It seems to be more aimed at driving people to change their opinion of the government. And, there I think should there not be guardrails between advertising that drives towards changing people's opinion of the government versus changing certain behaviors, on the part of consumers? Like for
MND ads that we put out, and in general, let me just look at some of the ads and campaigns you have done during COVID, getting our seniors to go vaccination, telling people about the safe management protocols, 1, 2, 3, for example. Even some of our campaigns, which some Singaporeans may think is a little bit cheesy, for example, being kind to one another, many campaigns about making sure that you prevent dengue breeding or mosquito breeding in your places. These are making sure that Singaporeans understand the facts, and also making sure that we do encourage good behavior among Singaporeans, for example, like mosquito breeding. So it benefits the community. And so to that extent, to that intent, I'm not sure how Mr. Perera thinks that it's not a good idea about getting more people to be kind to one another, to be more courteous to one another, to take care about our cleanliness and hygiene in our homes, to benefit our neighbors. And on the MND ads in particular, you look at it, it's about telling factually to all Singaporeans about some of the BTO launches that are coming up, some worked examples of how they can apply the CPF grant, how they can think about proximity grants, living near the parents, giving them information to make the best decision that they can. So I really don't quite understand where Mr. Perera is coming from. And these are just facts, helping Singaporeans make the best decision that they can. And I'm sure Singaporeans can do so.